Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats. And today on the blog and on social media, we're featuring BASIS Texas Charter Schools. And I have two expert guests to talk about BASIS Texas Charter Schools, answer your questions about that. So let me introduce our guests. So we have Ken Tyrrell, and he has kind of multiple titles. One of them is head of operations at BASIS San Antonio Jack Lewis Jr., but he has other responsibilities as part of BASIS.ed Texas. So we'll find out more about that, what Ken does. And then America Palmer is currently Director of Academic Policy and Process and Director of Events at BASIS.ed Texas. But you might be familiar with her. She's a former head of school at one of the BASIS primary campuses here in San Antonio. So thank you, Ken and America, for joining me on Charter Moms Chats.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, I know BASIS is one of the probably best known charter networks around San Antonio. For winning awards like being one of the top rated schools in Texas. But for people who maybe haven't heard of BASIS Texas Charter Schools, like maybe they have very young children, what can y'all talk about the sort of mission and vision of BASIS Texas Charter Schools?
Sure, absolutely. The way that I love to summarize our mission and vision is through our 5 core values. That's the best way to get an idea of what BASIS is about and what we strive to do. So the first one is nerds are cool, right? So that we love students who are inquisitive, who do not shy away from hard work, and just really are, if you have that kiddo that loves to go outside and just pick out a spider or a lizard or something and makes you scream, that's probably a perfect kiddo for us. So nerds are cool is our first core value. School should be hard. We do set the bar really high, and sometimes it seems like really like you're going to have kindergartners start practicing multiplication, and it's like, yes, we can absolutely do that. And we feel like that's our responsibility to the next generation to be able to prepare them to compete at a global level. So school should be hard, so they're best prepared for those challenges once they grow up and become whatever it is that they want to do. The third core value is excellent student outcomes requires expert teachers. So our teachers are experts in their fields. They love their subject. If you're passionate about what you're teaching, then you'll be more passionate for the students and get the students excited. It was always difficult to do classroom observations because I would just get so into the lesson that I forget that I'm there to observe and give feedback. So, having these passionate teachers makes such a huge difference in the classroom. The next is, of course, like the academic achievement of the schools and the students is a network-wide endeavor. It does take every student, teacher, parent, district office employee, any BASIS employee to make our curriculum successful and our students successful as well. So it does take a village to have to be the #1 school district in Texas. And the last core value is students are participants, not spectators in their own education. This is huge, especially because they're in my previous roles in other with other organizations. The students weren't always involved in their own education, meaning they would come up to me as their counselor and say, my dad said I'm failing something, and that's all the information that they had. And that's not what we are about. We want them to be involved and be in those conversations, and they should be going to the parents saying, like, Dad, Mom, I did not do well on this test. I need to go talk to the teacher, and be included in that conversation the whole time. So that pretty much summarizes our mission and vision at BASIS Texas Charter Schools. I love the 5 core values, and we honor them every day in everything that we do.
That's great. That's a really helpful explanation. I think that I know we're going to talk about a lot of great aspects about BASIS, but that was really helpful. So one thing I wanted to highlight, I alluded to this earlier, is that BASIS Texas Charter Schools as a district scored 99 out of 100 on the TEA district report card. And so it was tied for first in the state of Texas. And I was wondering if y'all could kind of comment on like what effort made it possible for BASIS to achieve that score, because that's really impressive, and that's doing it. It's not a selective school; it's an open enrollment school. So any student who applies is eligible. This is not like filtering or cherry picking like certain students to enroll at BASIS.
Yeah, so I think it also goes back to the 5 core values, and specifically the academic achievement being a network-wide responsibility. With the pandemic, obviously we all were worried about students thriving and continuing to learn. So we all put our heads together. We involved our community to make sure that the students were supported. If the schools needed more personnel or had some good ideas, we would share it across the network with each other and see what was working and what wasn't. So a lot of collaboration and a lot of partnering with the district office as well as the other schools really helped us get there. And also our expert teachers. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, it's a lot easier for a 5-year-old to sit there and listen to an engineering lesson if they're involved in making catapults and they're going to have a competition at the end and the teacher's very passionate and excited. So I have to give it to our teachers, and that's how we got there. They're just really dedicated, and even with all the different things that we had to do with the pandemic and back and forth and changes, they rolled with the punches and they were there and they were 100% every day, no matter how challenging things were. So I really, really believe that because of the passion of our teachers and because of their dedication, that is how we got to number one.
Yeah, teachers are so important, and BASIS teachers are very special because they are extremely passionate about what they do. They take some of them have had other careers before they joined BASIS, and they still have that passion to geek out on what they love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of our teachers over at Chavano used to be a civil engineer, and now he's teaching AP calculus. Just because he just loves the math and he just loves to teach it to the students and talk about his engineering experience and really getting them excited about how they're going to be actually using what they're learning in the classroom, which is always the question.
Yeah. Okay, so my next question is for Ken, and first of all, it's kind of explain these multiple roles you have. You wear more than one hat. So like kind of what you do at the network level, and then what you do at BASIS Jack Lewis Jr. campus.
Sure, yeah, it's been fun and slightly challenging wearing a couple different hats. So I straddle kind of two different teams. One is the network team at BASIS.ed Texas. So some of the buckets that I either own or help support are enrollment in each of the markets, managing the enrollment system and the enrollment team, also support school launch, some facilities, kind of improvements, and then also the breakfast and lunch program, depending on the campus that you're at. So that's like my kind of network level hat. And then zooming into just Jack Lewis Jr., manage the operations team there. So anything outside of the classroom, I've always thought as being an operator, you want to block and tackle. So the teachers and the academic staff can really focus on two things: instruction and culture. And we try and take everything else out of the way. So that's finance, that's HR, that's the childhood nutrition program, that's managing the annual teacher fund, health coordinator, nurses, safety and security, student information systems, kind of all the things that go and help support making the machine run. So those are kind of two different distinct roles that I currently have, which has been really fun.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I have kind of a similar question, but to America, and that is, can you explain what you do as director of academic policy and process, and then also as director of events?
Yes. So, as you mentioned earlier, I was the head of school for the last 5 years, and now I moved over to the BASIS district office. I was really excited about this opportunity. It's been a change. I could actually get to my to-do list now, which is great. But actually, what I actually do is for my director of academic policy and process hat. What I do there is I'm mostly doing, overseeing academic projects district-wide and processes. So, for example, I'm leading the teacher incentive allotment application process and working with the schools on best delivering that. And also helping evaluate and improve our internal teacher observation and evaluation system. So pretty much anything that we see that we to support the teachers or support the schools and how we can improve on that. I help with that. Most of my day really involves researching TEA updates and legislative updates related to our curriculum, instruction assessments, and funding, things like that. The director of events is my fun job, my little break from all the data. And I'm tasked with organizing really great events like, for example, we have our HOPS training, which is specifically for all our school leaders. Every summer, we also have something called a Summer Institute, where we train our new hires, our new teachers before they join the campuses for that school year. So that's what I do under that hat.
Well, thank you both for explaining, your job roles, because I think I think the takeaway maybe for parents listening is that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that parents and students interact most with teachers or sometimes heads of school, but that there's a lot that goes behind into the operations and also into supporting the academic folks to make sure that they have all the preparation they need to really deliver in the classroom. So I want to ask Ken more about specifically with the opening of BASIS San Antonio Jack Louis Junior Campus. So can you comment more on like what that was like, getting a new campus off the ground, like kind of what challenges you experienced?
Sure. What I'll say is the outcome was exactly what we wanted it to be. We have happy, engaged students, families, we're part of the community. Everything was on time, on budget. So that was the end result was exactly what we wanted. Now the pathway to get there, we had some challenges. To be very transparent, I think there's just some challenges across several different industries. Two big ones were supply chain issues and then the labor market. I mean, you can use, in terms of supply chain issues, I don't know if you've driven by like a car dealership, but they don't have cars, they don't have car parts. So that affected multiple different industries, and we were one of them. So those were a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome, and we did to make good on that commitment of opening the school on time and on budget. So those were a couple of challenges. Now to get to kind of the good part is all the events that we had were super fun and well attended and really started to build and engage that community. A couple of just off the top of my head, we had a Boots and Bluebells event at one of our sister campuses, Medical Center. So Western theme, country music, Bluebell ice cream. We had a puzzling picnic with different activities for families. We had a SeaWorld meet and greet. We had a altitude jumping event. So that was really fun to watch and help engage and meet people. And it was, we did a color wristband. So if you were a first grader, you had like a yellow wristband. So you saw all the other kids with yellow wristbands, and they kind of made friends that way, and parents made friends and got to meet the staff. So those are some things we did kind of prior to the school launch. What I will tell you from my perspective, even some parents were jumping on the trampolines. So that was great. I learned that I needed to stretch before I participated in the bouncy event, but learned that the hard way. Now, switching gears, so once the campus actually opened, we just had our first event, Harvest Fest. We had almost 500 people attend. We had a chili contest and a salsa contest. So really building that sense of community very strategically and thoughtfully helped really everyone have a cohesive relationship, because it's the parents and the students' school, and that partnership really facilitates that bond.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the puzzle event, and I get to play with some of those too, because David Kubalik brought some down to Hemisphere. We had like a summer of play event at the splash pad, and that was really like, it was fun because like families would come over from the park and the splash pad and play with it. And like I was thinking like, yeah, this is BASIS culture in action, because like these kids are learning, but they're actually having a lot of fun and they're really engaged while they're doing it. And then David was able to have conversations with them, and he's such a great ambassador for BASIS culture, because he's so energetic and curious, and he's good at so many different things. And he's really he's had the experience as head of school and as an administrator, and just is able to really talk about what BASIS offers families.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun launching that school with Dave. We have a great partnership, and I think that definitely impacts the teacher hiring and really the quality instruction that we're able to give in a very like fun and supportive way. So kids are smiling at the campus. So that's great. And it really needed to go well, to be quite honest. Like I've launched schools and I've launched states, I've launched regions. And if this one didn't go exactly as planned, I would have had some egg on my face. So I'm glad everyone is happy and it's working really well.
That's great. Okay. Well, my next question is for America, and I want you to kind of put your head of school hat back on. But I know you were head of school at a primary campus. So, but I'm assuming that in our audience we've got families interested in primary and also at the kind of upper levels, what the curriculum is like. So that's what I want you to share about. And I know we talked about this in the blog post. I want to recommend everybody that If you go to sachartermoms.com, you can find our BASIS enrollment guide, but there's something extra about getting to hear it from somebody who's lived it and worked with it. So can you talk about BASIS Charter School's curriculum?
Yes, of course. So, one thing that we always like to say, and I'm sure if you're familiar with BASIS at all, it is a rigorous and challenging curriculum. We do you start students really early with the more difficult curriculum. We do that purposefully. We want, and again, to circle back to the core values, right? It takes an entire network. So what we do is we provide all the support when the students come onto our campuses. So while parents need to be aware of how rigorous and challenging it is, and odds are, even though your kiddo is doing great at elsewhere, they will initially have some challenges joining our campuses, but we have all these extra supports in place specifically to make sure that the students are successful. And it's these supports that are evaluated every year and seeing how well our students are doing after we provided the support, and we improve them to streamline that transition and make it a little smoother for our students. So when you first enrolling your kiddo, they come back and they think it's really challenging and it's a lot, then that's how they should feel at first. But no, just reassure them that they're going to be supported, that we're working on this together, that it takes a village, and eventually they'll hit their stride. Now we do have AP rich curriculum in the upper school. We do prepare our students, of course, before they go to the AP classes, and make sure that they have additional support there as well. So really the key piece, whether you're looking to join our campuses in kindergarten or in 8th, 9th grade, is that it's going to probably be a little bit of a shock at first. And they're going to feel like the only student that doesn't understand, but they're not going to be the only student that doesn't understand. And we are very well aware that it is a transition for the students, that we support it. We will be communicative with the parents and understand that while you might want to have be able to see the grades online, we don't do that because, again, we want to make sure that the students are involved in their education. It is their education. We can lead a horse to water, right? We can't make them drink. So we have to make sure that they're invested as well. So we have a lot of flyers out there with more information about specifically the different curriculum and classes that each takes. But I feel like what's important to understand is that while it might be intimidating that we have 10th graders taking AP calculus, understand that there is a whole network of support for your children, and they will be successful if they just stick through it and work hard.
Yeah. No, you captured the essence of it, and I want to encourage families to keep doing their research, because the website has great information and talks about this is what students do at different levels. Like in our blog post, I've observed the connections classes and engineering and the kind of hands-on stuff that the kids get to do. And I've also gotten to talk to students and alumni who did their senior projects, or what cool kind of capstone things they get to learn. So there's and those are great questions to ask, if a family goes on a school tour or if they go to an information night, they can ask more questions about the curriculum. So there's just way too much for us to fit in, even in a Charter Moms chat, right?
Yes, it is. And there is a little variations in the different schools, and the best, like you said, the best way to do that is to go on a tour and really see it. Things that I would hear when I would give tours would be a lot of they're not just sitting there looking straightforward, serious. It's no, we are an elementary, or we are a school. We do have fun. We do want it to be exciting. If it's laborious and boring, then nobody will want to learn. So yes, we have these high expectations for our students, but I would be lying if I didn't say that one time I had an impromptu dance party per grade level, because it was just one of those days that we just needed to get our wiggles out and have a great day. So we called that and then went back to work. But we always have that sprinkle of fun, and remembering that they're kids and they still should enjoy their upbringing.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is I think there's kind of rumors that go around about BASIS, and they talk about oh wow, look at the kids are doing all this advanced math and science. But what people don't tend to talk about as much is how much in the arts, like liberal arts and fine arts, like things like the strings ensemble, and there's like student artwork on the walls in the hallways, and that there really is a more balanced curriculum, I think, than what sort of the stereotype is about BASIS.
Right. I mean, you're looking at the primaries. We have 85-minute blocks for math and for humanities, which is English. But we also have an 85-minute block in the day for fine arts. So, they will go to math for 85 minutes and then art for 85 minutes. And the next day they'll go to, drama for 85 minutes. So we have that sprinkled in our day because we do want well-rounded students.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Well, okay. When I asked both of y'all to just share like, stories and things, America, that was a great story about the dance party dance break. Like, can you think of some more stories like that kind of show like the BASIS school culture in action? Like, oh yeah, one thing parents always want to know is like, are there uniforms? No uniforms. This is like the opposite of uniforms.
Yes, I mean, yes, we do have a dress code. Of course, it has to be appropriate, but the students can express themselves. That was one of the biggest shocks that I had coming first when I first joined BASIS, because I was at a private school that had uniforms, and I came and I was like, oh my goodness, like there's all these like different hair colors and different styles, and it's just so great that we encourage the students to be who they are and be proud of who they are. But I do have a good story. Actually, with my son, because my son actually goes to North Central. He is a Blue Jay. He's a third grader. Last year, we had the opportunity to go to Chicago to the institute, the museum up there. Excuse me. And we're walking around, and he's 7, right? So I'm just thinking, like, you just expose him to a museum, like get him used to that. Well, he stops me and he's like, "Mom, that's a Jackson Pollock. That's abstract art." And I was like, what? Like, how did you know that? Like, yes. And he was correct. It just blew my mind that, it's that important. We really want our kids to be well-rounded, to be able to, yes, you can tell them to recite the multiplication tables, but then in real life, see a real life painting and be able to recognize even the artist. That's exactly why I still work for BASIS, and I'm so passionate about our mission.
Yeah, what a proud mom moment. That's awesome.
Yes, did anybody else hear that?
That's so cool. Okay. Well, Ken, I know you may not interact with students as much, but it sounds like you were able to meet like prospective families at some of these events, and like the Harvest Fest. So have you got some stories to share about BASIS culture?
Sure. Well, I've actually probably been able to meet more students and parents this year at BASIS than I have in previous years. So just learning about their why they're here, why this is a fit, it has been really engaging for me. I do kind of have a fun operational story, but it's been the most rewarding by far is to meet the kids again and to hang out with them at Late Bird and to play basketball and not just kind of be behind an office. So that's been really fun. There were some early on questions about whether or not our building was going to be done. So I did hear one parent made a bet with, I don't know, maybe it was a father-in-law over a cheeseburger, whether or not we were going to open on time. And we did, on time and on budget. So I think Grandpa had to buy that person a cheeseburger. Then the other thing, and this is just operational in nature, we got a good comment from a parent about our drop off and pickup line, comparing us to Chick-fil-A. So that was very rewarding for me.
That is high praise.
I know. I don't think we're quite Chick-fil-A, but we're getting closer every day. So those are 2 stories that kind of jump out that's been fun and I remember.
That's awesome. Actually, okay. So my next question is also for you, Ken. So like whenever I work on the enrollment guide, I tend to be focused on the coming school year, right? The 2023-24 cycle. So we'll talk about the dates for that, but there are some openings at campuses for the current school year. So I was wondering if you could talk about like what programs are in place to help families if they want to, like maybe they're just now hearing about BASIS, maybe they didn't know that there were openings, like if they're wanting to make the transition in the 2022-23 school year.
Sure. Yeah. And this kind of happened like organically. We get some calls just at the Jack Lewis campus about, hey, do you have an open seat or what does this look like? So it kind of led to this, what we call Late Start Jumpstart program that we rolled out district wide, and our marketing team did a phenomenal job with that. What we've seen coming back from the COVID environment is families are taking a little bit longer to take that step and make a really informed decision. And we want to make sure that they have all the information that they possibly can, so it's a right fit for them. So what we did with the Late Start Jumpstart program for any seats that we have open this year, we make sure that, you know, kiddo and parents take a campus tour during the day, so they see what this looks like in action. We set them up with what we call like a BASIS first friend. So that's, you know, classmate, a peer of theirs that are kind of showing the process, what it looks like from a student perspective. And then, of course, like we give them, you know, the locker and the backpack. We make sure all that stuff is working and working well. And we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. So there are a couple campuses with some open seats. So be sure to ask about the Late Start Jumpstart. Enroll BASIS.Texas.com, and then all the campuses have their own specific websites and tours set up too. So that's been really successful. We've had a lot of positive feedback and engaged parents because they feel like they're making a very informed decision. It's not just you get your seat offer, you're starting, you know, tomorrow. It's let's go through this process to make sure it's a fit for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's really, it's a really feels like really thoughtful onboarding. And that's part of what I tell families is like charter schools, like what's exciting about it for me as somebody who like looks at all these different schools, like there's such variety. But I think maybe parents don't realize like how different a charter school can be from maybe what's happening at their neighborhood public school. It can be wonderful, but you just want to do your research and make sure that it's a good fit. So what I want families to know about like specific like timelines and stuff. Like, so there's a reason why we're talking about this in, you know, even in September, because I know it seems like that next school year is a long way off, but can you comment on this, or is this
Sure.
Does America want to chime in? Okay,
Yeah.
so there's an open enrollment period. So are there benefits to families that they can apply during open enrollment versus at other times of year?
Yes, absolutely. Be sure, if you are interested in BASIS, be sure that you apply during an open enrollment. That's November 3rd through December 15th, as it says on the screen. That puts your application in with everybody else's. So during that time, that's the open enrollment period. Then our lottery will take place January 10th. So if you apply after that open enrollment period, you may be put on a wait list. So it's really important to apply during that window of November 3rd to December 15th.
Yeah. So we're getting the word out now because I guess like tours and stuff are already starting. So I don't know, can you comment on that, or America? Like what are the good ways for folks to do research about BASIS? I know, Ken, you mentioned specifically the Late Start Jumpstart, but there's like, you know, school tour, like links to register, like on the website, there's links to register for school tours.
Yeah, so everyone should have school tour set up by now. If you're interested in this year, definitely ask about the Late Start Jumpstart program. And you can always kind of beat the crowd if there is an open seat. So I definitely recommend that. And then for next year, Enroll BASIS Texas the website has a really good, a lot of information, a lot of tours. You can check out individual campus websites as well. And then those tours will be starting up here shortly. So those are kind of, that's a really good opportunity to get all that information out, and any questions that parents or students have, get those answered for them.
Yeah, and in the enrollment guide blog post, we've got links. I mean, you can navigate from enrollbasistx.com. That could take you to each campus website. We have it laid out in the enrollment guide blog post as well. So yeah, and there's a lot of information on the website, so it's great. Well, I'm going to give both of y'all a chance to kind of, if you want to offer kind of any like closing thoughts or kind of like words of encouragement to families who are doing their school search and kind of nervous about what else is going to lead to.
Yeah, one recommendation that I wanted to make was if you do go to a school tour, I would recommend to take your student with you, so that they get a sense of the school too and see the culture. Again, we want them involved from the beginning. So, take them with you so that they understand where they would be going and what that looks like. Sometimes in theory, it sounds a lot scarier than it is in person. So that's what I would encourage. I've been in education for about 16 years now, and I refuse to work for anybody that I don't feel passionate about and don't believe in our mission. So as long as I'm here, I fully support and fully believe in what we're doing as an organization. So please, I really truly encourage anybody out there that is looking for more challenging or more rigorous curriculum for their student to go and check out our schools and tour different schools and see if that's a good fit for your student, because it just really is I want everybody to have that moment at the museum where a kiddo just, surprises you like that. And it's just something that I wouldn't see anywhere else, I don't believe. But thank you so much for having me on today. I always love to talk about BASIS. I could keep going on and on and on. But I'll kick it over to Ken, and thanks again for having me.
Thank you, America. Ken, got any closing thoughts?
Yeah. One thing that I've learned about BASIS is, we do have a very great curriculum, but we also have a lot of fun. There's multiple different recesses that the kiddos have. So that's something very unique to us, and the kids really enjoy. My closing thoughts for parents and students is, take the tours, ask the questions. We're happy to answer them. Take the tours when it's in session, so you get a real feel for what the school looks and runs like. And if that works for you and it's a fit, we'd love to have you, but we want to make sure that everyone's making an informed decision. And we appreciate the time and the platform we have to, with your group to share all the information. And thank you so much.
Well, I love talking about BASIS because it's really a high achieving school. It's really, we're so lucky in San Antonio to have BASIS schools. I think every city needs one, and I'm really happy that San Antonio's had it for almost a decade now. So thank you so much for sharing about BASIS charter schools. I hope that it helps more families be aware of this amazing option that they can pick.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks y'all.